Well, I think we should just get started here. And if folks come in, we'll find a moment to give them a chance to introduce themselves. Uh, Let me just start off by asking, is there anybody here who would like or need to have Spanish translation of the presentation?
Bien, antes de que comencemos, me gustaría preguntar si hay alguien aquí presente que necesita o quisiera ver la presentación en español.
If so, you can unmute yourself and tell me or raise your hand.
De ser así, pueden abrir su micrófono y hacérmelo saber o pueden levantar su mano.
Okay. We are going to have a simultaneous translation of this meeting, so if folks do join in late and would like Spanish translation, we'll welcome them in and give them some instructions on how to do that.
Bien,
But
vamos a hacer una interpretación simultánea de la presentación para las personas que lleguen tarde. Les vamos a dar instrucciones para cómo poder escucharla en español.
thanks very much, Paulina, our translator. Okay, so proceeding in English, thanks very much for joining us, for your patience in us getting started and taking time to learn more about the Southwest Modesto community's active transportation connectivity project and the county's effort to secure grant funding for its construction under the state's active transportation program. Most importantly, we're glad you're here to share your feedback and your questions. We really appreciate your time. My name is Rochelle Lewis. I'm a senior consultant with Civic Mike. Civic Mike has been working with the county to engage the community at large and key stakeholders like yourselves with the goal of proposing a project that reflects the community's needs and experience. So before we introduce our participants, would be great to just go around really briefly and ask you all who are joining us who are on the Zoom to introduce yourselves. Just give us your name and whatever organization you are here representing or you're affiliated with.
I could go first. How's it going, everybody? My name is Jose Borrell, and I am part of Manos Unidas of South Modesto, a community-based organization that does a lot of advocacy work in the southwestern part of the city. From there, I'll pass it over to the rest of the folks.
Thanks, Jose. Darren, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Good evening. Darren Jesberg. I live here in Modesto, and I guess in this group I represent the cycling community. I'm involved in a number of different groups here in Modesto, having founded a few of them. Modesto Outdoor Recreation Alliance is our main group, Dry Creek Trail Riders, and I'm also the founder and head coach and team director for the Interscholastic mountain bike team that's based here in Modesto. And we actually have students who live in this particular area and go to Modesto High School. So I'm excited about the project. Thank you.
Thanks very much for being here. Lucretia, welcome. You're on mute.
Okay.
There you go.
I'm a resident of South Modesto, and I've been waiting to see all these improvements for many years. So I'm so glad that we are getting the sewer right now. We're finally getting hooked up to the city sewer, and I am really excited that we are trying to get more improvements in Southwest Modesto. Thank you.
Thanks for your time and for your activism. Edgar.
My name is Edgar Garibay, and I am the program manager for Valley Improvement Projects. and we also part of the group of different organizations that advocate throughout Stanislaus County, primarily working on a few topics around environmental justice. But one of the projects, actually, we received the Window 2 Cal Start grant, and part of it is also to focus in this neighborhood. So we'll also be engaging with the community to look at community needs assessments as far as like transportation, but also electric mobility options. So we've been in contact with the county planning department and with Danny Mauricio as well in public works. So we'll also definitely in the loop of this, right, to look at other opportunities as well to further bicycle pedestrian improvement in this neighborhood, but also really throughout underserved communities here in Stanislaus County. Thank you.
That's fantastic. I love hearing about all the engagement. Thanks for being with us. Blake Dunford.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Blake Dunford. I'm an associate planner with the Stanislaus Council of Governments. I'm on the programming and project delivery side of our organization, so love working with the agencies to help look through their projects and figure out ways to get them built and how we can leverage funding at state and federal levels. Looking forward to hearing more about the project tonight. Thanks very much, Blake. Thanks to StanCog for your letter of support too. We appreciate it. Okay. We'll let other folks, as they join late, give an opportunity for them to introduce themselves. But if we want to advance in the next slide, Howard, just a quick overview before I hand it off. We're going to hear from Danny Mauricio, who's a county engineer, about the background of this project and how it came to the attention of the county and why. We'll hear about the funding criteria the project must meet from AECOM engineer Derek Wong. And then we will hear about the specific design of the project and its potential impact on the health, safety, and mobility of Southwest Modesto residents. This meeting will be recorded on Civic Mic and shared on civicmic.com/Stanislaus-transportation. You'll see that URL at the end of the meeting as well on the screen. But that's where you can find all the information shared with the community and sign up for updates and stay in touch. The meeting, along with the slides being presented, will also be posted on the site, so feel free to visit and share with others. We plan to keep the meeting to an hour. We will open it up for your feedback and Q&A. Deftly moderated by Chris Brady with Stanislaus County. And to help keep the noise down, we just ask that you keep yourself muted when you're not speaking so everyone can hear what's being presented. And of course, we're committed to ensuring respectful dialogue, and this looks like an incredibly friendly group, so I'm not the least bit concerned about bad behavior here. And with that, I'd like to just introduce Danny Mauricio to kick us off with background.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Danny Mauricio with Stanislaus County Public Works. So Stanislaus County has received funds to address health and safety concerns within the county, where some of it was invested in much needed infrastructure. This you could see through 7 different county areas where we're proposing to install water, sewer, storm drainage, street lighting, and sidewalk as needed. And this funding source really provided the county with a unique opportunity to make an impact to these communities. But one of the biggest constraints is that the need outweighs the available funding. The county continues to explore other funding sources, which look like grant funding, other grant funding sources, as well as coordination with other agencies. And as for the topic today, the Colorado Routes neighborhood and adjacent neighborhoods there, the county heard concerns from residents about bike and pet safety through our outreach from those projects. That is where we decided to look into developing an active transportation connectivity project. And Derek from AECOM will elaborate on that.
Great, thanks, Danny. Good evening to all of you. I'm Derek Wong, a senior consulting manager with AECOM, and my role in this project is in economics and funding, and primarily leading the grant writing for this grant. And in part for why we're all here, just want to spend a few moments about the State Active Transportation Program grant, for which the county will be submitting an application for this particular project. It's a state program that's open to all the jurisdictions in the state, and the ATP program is primarily geared to increase the use and incentives to use non-motorized transportation, including bicycle and walking and other means. And so there are an abundance of program goals, which maybe I don't have to read to you all of them, but it really gets to getting people out of their cars and to increase their health and well-being and to increase the safety of the community as well. And so there are many different goals to this program, including reducing vehicle miles traveled and greenhouse gas reduction, as I mentioned, about safety and public health. But there's also an emphasis for the state program to ensure that disadvantaged communities are part of the benefits for getting funding from the state. And again, there are many different projects that are encouraged by the state. Next slide, please. Funding wise, there is potentially about 568 million statewide through various federal and state sources. This application that we're primarily submitting for this project will be to the state, so that the state share of it, which is about half of that amount. And there's another portion that gets distributed to the local MPOs like StanCog, the Metropolitan Planning Organizations, and they have their own small share of this pot of funding as well. It's a 4-year spread of this funding. So essentially, the state will be selecting projects to be implemented over this next 4-year period. And the benefits that we see accruing to Southwest Modesto communities from this program pretty much mirror what the state goals are. So that's why we're seeing this is a great opportunity to apply for such a project that would include safer non-motorized mobility options and connectivity and gap closure that we see within this project. Next slide, please. Just to highlight a couple of the key criteria for eligible infrastructure projects. Again, the state would like to see great benefits to disadvantaged communities. There should be a definite need for such a project to be successful. And we've seen a lot of that occurring here in Southwest Modesto through surveys and other means. Safety is a key aspect with that. And so we'll show you in later slides about some of the safety issues that are in this area regarding bicycles and pedestrians. And then finally, the public participation aspects of it. That's why in part we're having this meeting as well, and other outreach and engagement activities occurring. So these are the key weighting criteria that will feed into this application as it gets submitted. So with that, we'll pass it on to Howard.
All right, thanks. And as Derek highlighted the criteria, the key criteria for the funding source, I'm going to spend a little bit of time here explaining how we're planning to develop this project to be very much in line with that criteria, because it's a very competitive field to try to capture the funding, and it's important that we do all that we can to capture the value that this project can offer to the community, emphasize that to the grant management folks. So this exhibit here on the screen shows the project limits here in this bright pink, if you will, or purple color. This is what Derek was referring to as the gap closure. The county is currently engaged in a project that's going to be an alternative transportation project along this stretch of Robertson Road. We want to connect to that, continue on over to Sutter, up to the school in this area near South Avenue, but extend it also down through Rouse over to what the city has planned, and will soon be constructing a Class 1 trail that will go along the river through the regional park. So not only will this trail provide access for the local area, It'll provide regional access into downtown Modesto, connecting you to the regional transit center where the soon-to-be constructed ACE train can take people all the way into Oakland. So there's a really good chance that people can travel a pretty good distance without having to get in their cars. If you stay on the bike paths that the city has constructed and is ongoing with their construction, you can take it all the way over to the MJC. And you can see it also connects in this plan view to the local regional bus transit. So it will connect to all these black dots, which are bus stops. It'll allow people to get safe access to those locations as well as onto this path I was just talking about for regional access into Modesto. So this project is going to create some trip making, as Derek highlighted, to schools, parks, and was local as well as regional retail centers. I'm going to go into these next few slides here pretty quickly, but this at a glance just shows you a plethora of incidents that have occurred with bikes and peds in this area that this project is going to address. This is going to help us compete well for the funding. And this material came from Modesto. This is a map that shows the locations of those incidents. So through implementation of the right type of a project, we can enhance safety through traffic calming and low stress separated bike and ped path in this neighborhood. This is separate data from Stanislaus County. You can see a few highlighted items over here that overlap with the city, but all of it is separate otherwise. So a lot of data to consider. This shows a map of that data with one unfortunate fatality of a pedestrian here on Rouse Avenue. And then we have another source of information called, it's in short, in abbreviation, it's TIMS. And you can see everything that's highlighted over here on the left occurs in the city or county data, but then there's still additional data that doesn't occur in those databases. So a lot of data to consider. And this is a map that just gives you an illustration of where those incidents have occurred along the path, the general path or the area that this bikeway will pass through. So here's our first cross section I want to highlight. I'm going to show one for each of the roads. This is on Robertson Road with parking on the north side. So the intent is to have, this would be the north side. This is where parking is currently occurring. It will be maintained there, but this project will then construct a drainage system that will reconstruct a portion of the road with curb and gutter, a place to place the utilities in this space between this buffer between the curb and gutter and the shared use path. So you get really nice separation. And this is what a lot of the funding sources are looking for, is this type of comfortable, low stress separation. And on Sutter, we have a very similar type of plan for construction. We'll put in some drainage. Everybody knows that the area out there tends to flood in extreme events. So we're intending to incorporate some drainage into this project, along with, again, the shared path. In this case, this is Sutter Avenue with parking on the west side, which is this location here. Then when we look at Rouse, very similar cross section. So we now have parking on the north side, and that would be this side here. Very same idea that we can create a separated, low stress shared use path in that gap that I highlighted all the way over to a regional strip that takes you down into downtown Modesto. And with that, I'll turn it over to Rochelle to talk about the community engagement associated with this project development phase.
Okay, great. Thank you, Howard. So we have been reaching out across the region for feedback from folks like yourselves who are active in the community around multimodal transportation or opportunities for some of our disadvantaged communities. And then we have also been doing just sort of a far and wide approach to ask people to take a survey, and lots of organizations have been sharing the link for the survey out on social media. If you have not taken the survey, please take the survey. We are at 149 responses. I would love to get over 150. So that link again is at the top here, civicmike.com/Stanislaus-transportation. If you scroll down, you'll see a link to take the survey. Next slide. Here are just a little sampling of the responses to date, encapsulated in a couple of graphics here, just showing the overwhelming agreement for the need for improved sidewalks, the need for better access to locations that currently folks are having trouble getting to because of inadequate or unsafe sidewalks and bike lanes. People agreeing, 90% of those people who responded, that they know that they or someone they know would use those improved bike lanes and sidewalks. So those are just a few of the questions, but we're encouraged by the support there that the project is in fact being responsive to some real needs. Next slide. Some of you have already written organizational letters of support of the project. We greatly appreciate that. If you can, on behalf of your organization, write such a letter, that will go along with the application that the county is compiling. So you would just simply email it to us, PDF of it, and I'm happy to send you a sample letter. Some other organizations have asked for that as well. Next slide. Finally, a way to just subscribe for updates. Same webpage that gives us, your email address so we can keep you posted on information about this project as well as other Stanislaus County projects. Next slide. And now I'm going to hand it over to Chris Brady to solicit some of your feedback, and we'll open it up to you as well for questions.
Thanks. Thank you, Rochelle. And thank you all for joining us this evening. So yeah, a big portion, as Derek and Howard explained, a great emphasis is placed on the safety need, of the community out in South Modesto. So part of this question and answer and feedback session really are also our opportunity to ask you folks, and specifically, I'm going to ask you folks, to engage here with us. We'd like to really understand if there are specific needs, safety needs, student needs near the school, on any of these routes that you guys are aware of, that you see, you live, you hear about through friends or through your activities out in the community. We really would love to hear a goal of this whole thing is to hear some of that feedback from you guys. So we'd really like to get some of you to engage. If you know of something, please share it here. And if you have questions, that's great too. You can ask us of what about the project. But one of the big portions that's really important is to hear from you guys and get some feedback as far as what you may know or see out in the community. So I'll kind of open it up to anybody that might have an idea along this route that we're planning this project. If there are areas or areas of concerns and needs out there, please let us know, So, if you have something, maybe you could raise your hand and Rochelle can call you out or give you guys a little bit of time. I know some of you are pretty familiar with the neighborhood, so I'm hoping you might have some feedback. Or if you know others that might be able to offer us some feedback, that's okay too. We don't have a long time to get some of that feedback from you folks, but so it's important we get it soon. But if you think you might have some other folks that have some feedback for us, please let us know. Does anybody have any questions? Specific questions?
Chris, this is Darren.
Sure.
So I think I mentioned to Rochelle last time, but a connector to Modesto High School or that vicinity at some point, is there another phase you guys are planning to connect the high school to the Class 1 bike or multimodal paths by any chance?
It's funny you mentioned that, because if you go up, I'll let the rest of the team engage too. But I know that the City of Modesto is in the process of delivering an improvement project right on Paradise there that goes right past the high school, which gets to the intersection of Sutter and Paradise. And so we have considered extending some sort of improvements from the north end of what you see there, the pink, right there where the cursor's moving, to connect what we're proposing and what the city's proposing, just to close that gap, you know, to have some interconnectivity between projects. So yeah, we've considered that. I don't think we've nailed down what that may look like. At a minimum, we could probably stripe some bike lanes out there to kind of encourage some, you know, multimodal activity out there. Between the city's got some great improvements planned there. And like you said, the high school's just south, or actually, yeah, it's just east there on Paradise of Sutter. So that would be our logical spot to connect to something the city's proposing to do. I think we have some ideas. Or did you have something specific in mind that you were kind of hoping to hear about?
No, that's the most dangerous intersection in Modesto right there.
Yeah.
The way it's configured. So I just was thinking if you guys are going to link the high school, I was just kind of curious if you had any additional phases in mind, or is this something that we're going to wait for Modesto City to maybe provide?
Yeah, I think the city's project they're working on actually does improve that intersection. I can't tell you what those improvements look like. I would have to dig them out. I know they've shared some of that information with us, but they do improve the Sutter Paradise Road intersection. That's part of that project they're out there building today. So we'll have to. What we can do is take a look at that and see if there's anything that they are maybe doing right at that Sutter intersection that we can connect to, you know, real easily. That's a good spot and a good suggestion to kind of tie it all together. So if people do want to leave the high school and come down, you know, into the residential areas, they can safely. So that's a good suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah, but I mean, overall, I think, it's a very small project, it looks like, very small footprint, but I think it meets the demands of that particular neighborhood. And the yellow trail that goes along the river, there is a design phase for the segment from the bridge down to where the pink trail intersects. It's actually the boat launch now.
Yep.
Yeah, right where your cursor is.
Yep.
So that's currently being looked at. The City of Modesto Parks Planning has that in the design phase, waiting for funding. But then on the other side of the bridge, that's already existing up to the confluence of Dry Creek. Yep, around there. But then from there, there's nothing proposed along there at all. That's nothing. So it stops. But there is a plan to basically link. You don't have it on the map here. Basically, if you follow the Dry Creek, the other drainage up here. Yep, keep on going. Yep, that's Dry Creek. So there is. I sat through another presentation with City of Modesto engineers, planning folks. There's going to be a path along there, Class 1, that goes along. It's north of Morton, not shown there. That'll take you to Dry Creek Regional Park, which is another Class 1 bike path that goes all the way to Claus Road, which links up to other bike lanes on Claus Road that goes to Village 1. So something to consider. But overall, the project you guys are proposing, it meets the demands and the needs of that community, South Modesto. And hopefully there'll be some more connections. Like I said, the high school is my main concern, is getting a safe connection to the high school to the neighborhoods you guys are proposing to put the bike paths.
Got it. Edgar, did you want to
Yeah,
add
there you
something
go.
too?
Yeah, couple of things. In relation to the immediate, just trying to think through the project. So there's a proposed project right now with the county, right on along Robertson Road in the elementary school, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, and then Do you know the type of sidewalks? Are they gonna be like street, like the city? I guess the city type of sidewalks, if that makes sense, or are these different sidewalks for that proposed project and for this, sorry, for the project that is currently underway or will be underway for that part of the neighborhood, but then the stretch, what are you anticipating, or can you elaborate a little bit more on the type of sidewalk that is being proposed?
Yeah, so along Robertson from Carpenter to kind of where, the yellow line meets the pink line there.
Right.
It's going to look real similar to what we've done in the airport and Bret Hart neighborhoods. If you're familiar with that, it's more of
Right.
I'll say it's a separated sidewalk. There's not going to be curb and gutter. We're not going to, I don't think they're installing any gutters or anything in catch basins. It's more of like some swales maybe and some separated concrete sidewalks to get folks, along Robertson and across safely to over to the school.
I would just say from what because in my time at the Twelve River Trust, that we provided letters of support and did a lot of work with the community, a lot of safe routes to school, safe routes to parks initiatives in the neighborhood. In that, so I'm very familiar with the infrastructure. I know that I would say that the majority of the residents that I could speak to appreciated definitely the sidewalks, but it was really the design of the rocks, right? That's been an issue. That's been an ongoing issue with the community. I'm sure you might have heard that. So just something maybe to consider as the design as you're thinking through this for the the rock, the material that's being used there. Many cars have gotten stuck. There's been some incidents too where a couple of community members have mentioned to me that their windshield was stricken with the rock. So I'm just saying, just for the design purposes, as you're thinking through this in the application process, it's just something to consider. In your previous application, which I believe it was cycle 4 that was awarded, I think it was cycle 4 or cycle 5 for the airport neighborhood. There was also some funding around non-infrastructure, so I'm not sure if that's still allowable or if you're considering part of that. So then the education and if awarded, right? Obviously, if awarded, what that looks like, and so I would say those are just some things to just some learning lessons that we've seen from that particular, because this, I think the one in the airport relates to this in the sense that you've successfully obtained that grant, and then just some learning lessons that we've learned throughout the process. And I think it was very important to connect back with the community for a little bit of funding set aside, if possible, if it's still allowable, for non-infrastructure education, or sorry, the non-infrastructure, basically education to the community as a follow-up if awarded. Are some of the comments that I would make as far as that's concerned. And it's great to see that. I know that I no longer work for the Tuolumne River Trust, but there's some work that they did through a state grant that maybe you would be able to reach out to them. That was done through a state parks grant that when I was there at the time, I just don't have access to that information, is basically the some safe routes to school initiative that was done with the I forget the name of the school adjacent to Robertson Road, but we did a walking audit. What was that? No, it's not Marshall. It's the one.
Kirshen.
Robertson
Yeah.
Road.
Yeah, Kirshen. So we did safe routes to school with a lot of different community partners at Kirshen, and this year before I left the trust, we did one at Robertson Road. So if you wanted to check in with them, you may have gotten I'm not sure if you've gotten a letter of support, but Tuolumne River Trust has done some work there in the neighborhood. And yeah, thank you.
All good feedback. Thank you. Yeah. And I did hear about all in airport, the rock that we chose for some of those swales in there wasn't all that great. I think we did a little better job in Robertson, or not, sorry, Robertson and Bret Hart. We built similar improvements, but it kind of made some slight improvements to what we built there. So that's good feedback. And I think on this project, we'd be proposing full curb and gutter and sidewalks and things like that. So I'm not thinking we'll have this same challenge, but I'm glad that you recognize the need on say that Robertson project and I think we may have, Danny, did we hear from Tuolumne River Trust too? Didn't some of our folks going to that meeting at, maybe it was over at that school on Robertson?
So yes, we had our traffic division, Francis and Jose, attend the Safe Routes to School meetings.
Cool.
We have been in touch with their leadership on this project as well. So it would be great to get a letter from them.
Did anybody else have any thoughts, concerns, suggestions? Anything you've noticed?
On my side, I have a question. Oh, I'm trying to turn on my video. Doesn't want to work. My side, I have a question. You had mentioned there's going to be new bus routes. Can you speak a little bit more on that? It looks like there's a series of stops between Carpenter and Robb Road.
Yeah, I'm not sure we were going to add any bus stops. I think it was more of we wanted to enhance, I guess, access and connection to those locations.
So to add to that, Stan RTA may be proposing an additional route down through there. It is something that they are currently just considering. And then there is another project that they were looking at potentially doing like a rapid transit. But again, right now they're just still working on it internally prior to actually proposing anything.
Thanks for that.
Anybody else? Some thoughts, concerns, suggestions? And if you guys think of something later on, I mean, we really appreciate the feedback. You know, if you get off the call and you think about something, or you happen to have a conversation with someone and they're mentioning something, please let us know. We'd love to hear the feedback, and because we really just want to make the application and the proposed project as strong as possible. You know, we're just trying to fulfill the safety, and need out there. Yeah, what's up, Edgar?
Yeah, I was wondering, can you talk a little bit about maybe some of your preliminary data, what you've heard, or any things come to mind when some of the survey data that you've gotten so far, or that you're trying to accumulate, what trends or what things are coming up that you're seeing? I don't know if you could speak a little bit to that.
I know that I've had conversations with folks at some of the neighborhood meetings out there when we were out there talking about some of the other projects, and we had information on this proposed project there available too. And so we asked some of the folks, hey, what do you see near the school? And they said people are driving really fast, just slow traffic down in front of the school on Sutter. That would be a good suggestion. A lot of foot traffic along Sutter there. So we're keeping that in mind. Some of the crossings there have already been improved, but maybe enhance those improvements slightly. What else? There's been some. Rouse is just it's odd. There's a lot of folks that traverse through there, but it's very narrow. I mean, it's so dangerous down Rouse. Like, it's hard to even imagine someone walking down that street next to traffic, but it happens. You see it out there. So, just in general, I would say that route is just it's just not safe to be on foot on that street at all, honestly. So I'm just, that was just general feedback that we got, and I could see out there by witnessing it myself. I don't know if others here have gotten feedback or recall anything specific from either the surveys or community members that people have brought up. Anybody else want to kind of elaborate?
We are actually still in the process of going through all of the survey responses to try to summarize, themes that came out of now, almost, as I mentioned, almost 150 responses with a lot of open-ended questions in there. You'll see if you've taken it or if you go on and take it. So that will be part of what we learned from that in that summary will be part of the application, the county's application, which I assume is a public document, is it? The application? Is that a
I would
public
assume
document?
so.
I
Yeah.
would imagine so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the state level, it's not made public. Once it's
Oh,
submitted,
okay.
they provide, I think, summaries of it at most. But I guess it's up to the local jurisdiction itself if it wants to make it public.
Just to tack on a little bit to what Chris was sharing on Sutter, and this is just probably emphasizing what you all know, but I had heard from some people at one of our outreach meetings, similar points that Chris was stating, that people that they move up and down Sutter pretty swiftly. I mean, the city has even talked about it, and up here by the school, it's obviously a great concern where all the kids are and parents are coming in and out of the school. So that's been an issue in the past. It probably remain an issue until something is done. And this project gives an opportunity to create a little bit of traffic calming by narrowing up the road, by eliminating a parking lane that actually makes people a little more comfortable to speed a little bit more by eliminating that lane. And so there's a good opportunity with this project to do just that. Not only to create a separated bikeway for the bikes and the peds to operate on, to Chris's point, especially down Rouse. You put them on a safe facility, they're separated from the roadway. They're somewhat protected there. And to do that will actually gives an opportunity to create a little bit of friction to control the speeds on the road. So we certainly would look for ways to do that. We even thought about trying to create some sort of tabletops, if you will, over here by the school, where you'd bring in some concrete bulb outs at the locations where the pedestrians are crossing, so they have a narrower strip of pavement to get across. They have a refuge on both sides of the road. So those are other details that we will get into if this project is successful and secures the funding. There's going to be some good opportunities to enhance these corridors in that way.
Yeah, and then you have the last comment that I'll make is also that you have in other words, you have 3 schools that are nearby, right? The James Marshall, Robertson Road, and then you feed into the Vanguard Preparatory Academy, which is the 3rd school there towards the latter end too. So
yep.
So okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Rochelle, did you say we had somebody in the audience that was from the neighborhood? I thought a woman introduced herself as being a resident.
Lucretia. You're muted, Lucretia. You can unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I live on Colorado Avenue, and right now they're doing the sewer project, and we are going to eventually get sidewalks. But yes, on Rouse, that street is very narrow, and yes, a lot of people use it, and yeah, well, right now since we're under construction, people have to be more cautious when they're driving. But before they start construction, yeah, there's a lot of it's pretty dangerous. And yes, we do need sidewalks. We need sidewalks in my whole neighborhood because students, when they walk to school, when it rains, they have to walk in the middle of the road because all the puddles that we were getting. But eventually, that's going to be resolved with when they're done with this sewer project. I like all the things that all the suggestions that you guys are talking about. I hope it does get done. I've been talking to my neighbors, and I really get after them to take the survey. I did went ahead and I have social media, so I went ahead and shared the search, the link, for people to take the surveys. And so
you.
I am hoping that my neighbors do get involved so that we do get the grant and get this project going. So basically, okay, what else can I do to help this project going? I can write a letter and have my neighbors sign it and then email it to you guys. Is that
would be
something?
That'd be fantastic.
Okay.
I just, Lucretia, I think I have your email address from your RSVP for the meeting. So I'm happy to
Yes.
send you copies of other letters, support letters, so you can see what some of the other letters say, if that's helpful.
Yes.
I also just
Yes.
put
Do that.
okay, will do. Also just put in the chat for everybody the email address for Civic Mike. So you can email, if you think of something after the meeting, you can email us any questions or thoughts that you have. We'll make
Yes.
sure that the team gets that.
Yes, I would like that. Thank you.
And what you have done already is super helpful, sharing the information. So thank you so much for encouraging your neighbors to take the survey.
Yeah,
Yes.
Lucretia, I want to echo that. For you to be here and to speak out as you have just done, to be an advocate and a champion for your neighborhood, your community, we thank you for that. That's what this project needs. It's very important, as Derek highlighted in his presentation. That's a critical criteria for this project. The amount and the type of the amount of support, the type of support that we get will help this project score well. And it's a very competitive funding world. So to the extent you can rally the troops, so to speak, and get more people to go on and take the survey and provide comments and let us know if this type of facility that we're looking to put into this through your neighborhood here, for separated bikeways, for low stress, safer facilities and drainage facilities to get those roads dry so people aren't walking out in the middle of the roads. If you can get people to weigh in and give us a lot of feedback, it's going to be very important to the success of this grant application. So we really appreciate that effort, appreciate what you've already done and what you're going to continue to do. So thank you.
Yes, no, thank you. I was really disappointed that when we had the last meeting, very little, just a few people showed up. I thought, oh my gosh, that's why the the west side is the west side, because nobody wants to get involved. So
Yeah, we understand, but it's people like you that will actually cause some people to get involved and maybe numerous people to get involved where they otherwise wouldn't. So really do appreciate the effort.
good,
So
thank you.
just so you're everybody is aware who may be considering a support letter, if you haven't already sent us one. The application is due, I think it's the 14th or the 17th, Derek?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very shortly. Yeah, it's officially on the 17th.
Yeah. So I know Derek is working to put everything together early next week, I believe, right? To have it wrapped up. So timing wise for any letters of support would be great to have them by when, Derek, at the latest?
Of course, as soon as possible, but next Monday, Tuesday, if that would work, that would be appreciated.
Okay, yes, I will work on that as soon as I get a sample sent to me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Other questions? Chris, did you have any other questions for the group?
I have a question / comment. I'm Nancy Martinez, by the way. I'm sorry I'm here
Hi,
with
Nancy.
Jose. I also lived on Robb Road for a very long time, and I still live in Westside, just a little bit north of this project area. But I'm super familiar with the area, and I just wanted to make a comment that I know that there's plans to do the Colorado Rouse, the ARPA improvements in that Colorado Rouse area, but There's a really big need to connect either with sidewalks or bike path. Rob Road through Garden Avenue up into Roselawn Avenue for a couple reasons. First, a lot of people coming from the Rob Road area will go that way to access the Modesto Nuts or the freeway, and that needs a lot of improvements. But also there's that school there, Vanguard, which is listed as number 5 there. And what's not on here is the Boys and Girls Club, which is a really important nonprofit in the area. It's right next to the Vanguard, and they're actually opening up their like gate to face. Right now, the entrance faces towards Nice Drive, but the entrance to the Boys and Girls Club will face Roselawn Avenue, and they really want to be more open to the community. So improvement from Rob Road through Garden Avenue up into Roselawn would be super good so that people can more easily access the amenities there, the park, the nonprofit, the school. Just making a comment.
Oh, that's
Great.
great. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think we
Um,
have, a garden should be covered under this project. We should be able to, or not this project, under the ARPA project, we are addressing sidewalks on Colorado and Garden, but that's good. That's awesome feedback. And that's good to know about the Boys and Girls Club over there too. I was unaware.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I see Roger Orth joined us late. Roger, can you hear us? You're muted. There you are.
Yes, I'm sorry for joining late. Got in as soon as I could. But no, thank you for having this and thank you for the invite.
Sure. So I know.
Yeah.
I know that you're you RSVP'd on your capacity with Modesto City Schools, so we're thrilled to have you here. And we've obviously gone through the presentation, but would love to hear from you. Any questions that you might have from what you know, or any thoughts that you have about the project from what you're already aware of?
Well, I'm glad you're doing this. Anything that is an enhancement to our community is always a good thing. I would like to get, I don't know, a PDF or something that shows the proposed path, and that's what I'm looking at here on the screen. So again, thank you for the invite.
Sure.
So are you interested in understanding the limits of the project?
I'm interested in the proposal. Where does this bike path, walking path go?
So the yellow line that you see on the screen, right in the middle of the screen, this is the current limits of the project that would connect to an existing project that the county has going on here on this teal colored line. It'd pick up at the end of that project, continue on down Robertson Road, go north on Sutter up to South Avenue alongside the school here, and then also along Rouse over to what the city currently has planned to construct as a bike trail down into this along the river into the regional park over here. That ultimately will get people into downtown Modesto. But the limits of this ATP project is what you see here in yellow.
Okay, no, thank you for that. That hits two of my school sites with Robertson Road and Kirshen, and is not too far away from Modesto High School. I've been to the new boat ramp down off Nice.
Yeah.
It looks like that new trail. It picks up that new trail on Nice near the boat launch right there.
Mm-hmm.
So
yep.
That it's absolutely looks like an enhancement for this community. So I don't know, is this something that still requires funding? What would the timeline be? How feasible is this as far as is this going to happen or not?
Well, and Derek can speak to the funding and the timing of it. But the whole purpose of this meeting is to get input from community, inform them like we just did with you what the project is all about, and then to get hopefully get some positive feedback in the form of filling out the survey or offering up letters of support, that type of thing. But Derek can explain to you the program, the funding program, and the timing of it all.
Right on.
Yeah, so this program, it's the state active transportation program cycle that's out right now. Applications for this grant program are due in a short couple of weeks. So we're gathering all the input and all the data and information to put that application together. And essentially, we're asking for funds to construct the project. And the general timeline is to design and complete the construction within about a 4 to 5 year period. So right now, the state has its funding set for this particular cycle of grants through fiscal year 28-29. So that's looking out about a 4 to 5 year time period, of which the funds will be programmed and delivered to each of the awarding agencies to undertake their construction.
Okay. So you're applying for the funds. When do you know if you're approved for the funds? Do you have a timeline on that?
Yes, it's within a 4 to 6 month time frame in which they'll review it and notify the awardees. It's a statewide competition, so I guess in a way, unfortunately or fortunately, we'll be going against all the other urban areas in the state, as well as other jurisdictions in the Central Valley as well, just depending upon who submits on this statewide competition.
Okay.
Hey,
Understood.
Roger, this is Chris Brady at the county. I was wondering,
Chris.
do you know, thank you for calling in, by the way. I appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time out to join us. Do you happen to know, just real quick, if there's anything specific that comes to mind at the school, like that it really just pops to the top of your mind of like, oh yeah, this is always a weird spot, or this is always an incident, or this is always a safety concern, and we've never really been able to deal with it as a school
Right.
or school district or whatever. It's that kind of stuff that we'd love to hear, because it's like, if we're here, we can mention that we can try to tackle some of these challenges as part of the project. We can say, hey, we heard this, we want to try to tackle it with the project, and this is what we're going to try to do to solve that issue.
No, thank you for asking that question. I guess for starters, I want to ask a question to the question. This path, are we constructing the equivalent of a road diet? And is this a new bike walking lane down at the streetscape level, or are we enhancing the sidewalk? Because we have a Safe Routes to Schools initiative to where at a minimum, we want to have a safe sidewalk and approaches from our neighborhoods to our schools. This path that you just had on the screen, are we enhancing sidewalks or down at the street level, kind of like what is going on in front of Modesto High right now at H Street, where there's a ton of work going on up and down Paradise Road that probably everyone knows about. Is it more like that, or is it sidewalk work?
So you can see the section on the screen, I take it?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a simple illustration of the vision for this project. We're talking essentially the same type of cross section for the 3 roads of Robertson, Sutter, and Rouse. And so this is Sutter, essentially looking north. And so we would maintain parking with this illustration. We'd maintain parking on the west side.
Okay.
And confine the remainder of the roadbed to 2 lanes of travel. The sidewalk over on this side is most likely going to be constructed with an ARPA project, if depending on the actual limits that get finalized with that funding. But over here, what we're proposing to do is put in some drainage system so we can drain the roads, and then a curb and gutter with a buffer in here behind the curb to the shared use path.
Okay.
So you got people walking away, not adjacent to the travel lanes, but in this case, adjacent to a parking lane, whether there's cars or not. But it's good separation from the vehicle lanes. And this is an important point that I'm making here, is that the as Derek talked about, there's statewide competition for this funding, so it's always challenging. But instead of trying to have on-street bike lanes with adjacent sidewalks, we're looking for a way to get the separated bikeway in here. In the current environment that we find ourselves in, the transportation industry, this type of separated, lower stress bikeway and ped facility is going to attract more attention and elevate this project's candidacy for funding than, say, your more traditional curb gutter and sidewalk over here with a bike lane, adjacent to it. So,
Right.
so this is our approach, and so there's a little bit of a road diet going on with reducing some of the width of the road by accounting for some of that space with the shared use path and reducing it a little bit to do so.
Okay. So yeah, 12-foot wide sidewalk. And that's going north and south on Sutter on the west side, which is that's a wonderful thing for James Marshall School. Does that run far enough north to tie in with what the city has going on at Paradise Road right now? Because they have a very ambitious project regarding bike lanes on Paradise.
Yeah, Chris, you want to echo what you said before on that?
Yeah, Roger. So what I mentioned was that right to this point, you can kind of see we'd proposed stopping the improvements at South, which is kind of right in front of the school there. But we're aware of the city's project that they're doing, and so we're taking a look and seeing if what we can do to interconnect those projects. Right? Like, why leave a gap there?
Right.
There could be something simple we could do to tie those together. Because there's already curb gutter sidewalk along that stretch of Sutter, from the school going up to Paradise.
Right.
So that's good. Maybe it's just ADA improvements and maybe some bike lanes, something along those lines. I don't know. We've got to sit and quickly hash that out so that we can kind of interconnect that and maybe highlight that interconnectivity, as to where we're
Right.
kind of leveraging their project, if you will. They're doing all this great stuff. It's like, hey, let's interconnect our stuff with their stuff.
Right. Right. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be a benefit.
So Roger, we actually have been in touch with Tim Zerley at the district.
Right.
And his assistant, Rebecca Hurst, and
Right.
they have a sample letter of support from us that they asked for. So it would be great, if you have any thoughts on that, if there's feedback to include in the letter, or if there's support to offer for the application from your standpoint. I just wanted you to be aware that we're hoping to receive that from them.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk to Tim about it. And yeah, I think tying Sutter in with 8th Street, I think that's important. In general, I like seeing a 12-foot wide sidewalk connecting our campuses and to our neighborhoods, and also connecting to the Nice Drive Trail. That's another community benefit. So by and large, I like what I see at this point. I'd like to see a connection on that final leg of North Sutter.
To Paradise, correct?
Correct. You've got a park and a shopping center right there. I think there's a fire district too. Their fire department.
Great.
Good feedback. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Great. Well, so glad you were able to join us before we closed out our meeting. It's really helpful feedback. And anybody else have any additional questions? As I mentioned, in the chat is the email address for civicmind.com. So if you think of anything, feel free to reach out to us. And any of our presenters have anything else that they'd like to add before we let folks go?
Can you, I don't know if you want to email this entire group or somehow, some way keep us noticed on the status of the grant funding on this? That'd be nice to know.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've got folks that have subscribed for updates, and I will, everybody who RSVP'd, including yourself, Roger, will be included on that list for any updates.
Great. No, this is, like I said, safe routes to schools. We still have a lot of walkers. Something like this would be excellent improvement for our school community.
Actually, Roger, I do have a question just to ask you. Is there anything within the school district, any kind of like notice or information that goes out to parents regarding sort of the general walkability of the schools, or just notifying parents to be careful when walking their kids to school, or any kind of safety type of notice that the district might issue, or anything that's part of the school policies, guidelines, anything that we can get our hands on just to show sort of the safety needs and the safety concerns?
That varies so much campus by campus. And we don't have a universal district message because of the varying situations at all 34 of our school. We have 34 school sites, but each site handles this a little bit differently due to their own demographic and neighborhoods and the routes from their own school communities. Some have walking school buses where they all meet in certain locations and they walk together to the site. Some, like a site like Fairview, almost everybody is driven into that school because it's not a neighborhood school. So it really does vary campus by campus. So I don't have like a district uniform message that you're looking for, but if you're thinking of something like what you're asking for to help on the grant, feel free to email that to Tim and myself, and we could put something together for you if you think something like that helps you get the grant approved.
Okay. Yeah. I'll consider that. Thank you. Yeah, just any kind of additional local input just to express, the inherent sort of safety concerns or issues, with the area, and especially for schools. So just thought of going to the source itself, like at the schools themselves, providing indication of the general safety of the area to walk and bike.
Right. Okay.
Right. Thanks. Okay.
Well, if we could put it, if you want to bake it into the letter that you plan on sending to Tim and I, we could look at that too.
Okay. Yeah, good idea. All right.
Yeah, we sent a sample letter, but I'm happy, Derek, if you don't have that one that was sent to Modesto City Schools, I'll send it to you and you can redraft of it.
If you could redraft a new sample letter and talk about that Sutter piece I brought up, and then if you want to put any other verbiage in it to stress the importance of safe routes to schools, that's kind of a code term for us, and send it to Tim and I, that'd be great.
Great. Thank you.
And I'm sorry for joining. I was at another district event that just ended, so I'm sorry. Sorry I was late.
That's okay.
I had every intention of joining this because it's a great topic.
Well, thanks. No, we're glad that we got to hear from you.
Yep.
Thanks very much. Anybody else before we sign off for the evening? All right. Well, thanks, good people. I'm wishing you a very peaceful evening.
Thank you, everybody.
Good week ahead.
Thanks for all the feedback. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.